As we enter the month of Spooktober, we have been given honey blocks. Yeah, don't you love how spooky and Halloweeny honey blocks and honeycomb blocks are? Look at them. They're brilliant. Okay, in all seriousness, Mojang has just added the honey block and the honeycomb block. It is snapshot 19W41A, and these are some really cool blocks. Now, they have a few interesting features. Now, this is just a pretty normal block. I don't think it actually does anything. I may be wrong on that though, don't quote me on it. However, it does look really nice. Also, this honey block here, it has a few interesting properties. Firstly, you walk slowly on it. Also, you can't jump very high. And finally, if any entity or any items fall down the side of it, you fall slowly, as you can see here, and it will cushion your fall. Now, here are 10 build designs you can create with these two blocks. You could say they're honey hacks. Anyway, the first build suggestion is to use it in lava pits. Now, I've created a dark, gloomy little scene here with a lava pool right in the center. I have some honey blocks around the side, some magma blocks, and some honeycomb blocks. Now, you may not expect the honey and the honeycomb blocks to be in the nether, and I'd agree with you there, but they do look really nice and orange and definitely mix in with the lava quite well. Also, I think I found a little bug here, because when I step on the honey block and I go near the lava, I set on fire. I don't think that's meant to be happening, but oh well. Next up, we have some sort of crystal, and it definitely works as a crystal. If you look here, it has a nice, fairly translucent colour. While it isn't really transparent like the glass blocks, which you can see here, it does have a slight clearness to it, making it seem crystalline and quite nice. Next up, we have a pile of gold, or honey, depending on how you see it, but I see it as gold. So we have barrels of honeycomb and honey blocks, as well as gold and yellow concrete powder, terracotta and concrete, and all of it just mixed together looks like a great big pile of gold. I really like this. Recently I did a dwarven build, and I reckon this would look really good in place of some of the items I used in that. Next up, and I did do a similar thing with the bee nest blocks in my last build hacks video, we have a window, and I think this looks a bit better. It looks a bit patterned, and if you want opaque windows and you don't want to decorate the interiors, this is perfect. From a distance, it makes it look quite lively and homely and very warm on the inside, and while you can't see through it, it definitely does give it a nice pattern, and it's kind of a lazy way to get away with not doing interiors. Next up, we have a very simple lamp design. I'm not going to go over too much on this, but it's basically a very simple, almost Victorian street lamp, and on the ends we have some honeycomb blocks with lanterns dangling down. You could use glowstone, but I think this looks a little bit better, a little more confined and lantern-like. And if you put this on the end with the lantern, it will still emit light, just not on its own. So it is kind of functional if you build a design similar to this. Next up, we have a literal honey farm, and I also did this on my last video, but now I've added some spilt honey, which, by the way, starting out pointed out that this was really cool, and I do quite like it. If you put a bit of carpet in a barrel, and then in the ground you put some blocks, one block below, it kind of looks like it's just spilt all over the floor, and there's just a tiny layer left in the barrel. Of course, I do have some standing up, but I think that looks really cool. As well as this, we have a big barrel or jug of honey, and once again it just looks like it's been layered up and it's nice and gooey, ready to be harvested. And if you do want to have beehives in your trees, but you don't want loads of bees all over the place, you could always use the honeycomb block. While there won't be any bees going in and out of it, if you don't want that, if you're a strange person and you don't want that, then feel free to just put a honeycomb block in the tree instead. Next up, I did mention it does kind of look like glowstone. So if you have a Nether Belt, I find it really breaks up the texture of glowstone if you just mix it in here and there. It's a very simple, easy to do design, but it definitely does make it a bit cleaner. Although if you don't like this, I can see where you're coming from, because it does kind of make the Nether just seem a bit more friendlier, and you may not want that. Next up, and this is my favourite design, we've got one of those crisscross fence garden thingies. Yeah, I don't really know what they're called. I should probably search up the terminology beforehand. But yeah, we've got a very lovely, homely looking garden with some benches and a table, and this kind of looks like those fences that you hang plants on and put your tools in and things. I think it looks really nice. I also used the campfire block, the spruce trapdoors, and I put some leaves in it, and I think it looks really lovely. Coming up, we have a very yellowy looking bedroom. In fact, the only other colours are in the paintings, the spruce and the quartz. Yeah, it's a very themed room, I guess. Yeah, but if you like bees, then by all means go ahead and do this. Anyway, we've got a nice carpet using the oops. As I was saying, we've got a nice carpet using the horn coral fans. I did a similar thing with the dead ones, but it kind of looks a bit better, but because the blocks aren't a different colour below, but I still think this looks fairly nice. I got this design from Fwip, he's a genius, and also we have a wallpaper. And this just uses a simple pattern with the honeycomb blocks and the yellow terracotta. It just blends in quite well. I found that just one block on its own made it seem quite a bit crowded and over textured, but as soon as I put these stripes in, it looks a lot nicer. And last but not least, in my final design, it actually uses one of the functions instead of how it looks. We've got a mud pit. So it may not look like much. You just go down a bit and you jump in the mud. But if I go into survival, as you can see, it slows me down a fair amount. It doesn't slow me down too much, which is kind of what you want with the mud. You don't want to feel too slow, but you do want it to feel a bit sludgy. But the main thing about this is you can't get out. You seriously cannot get out without breaking anything. And yeah, you do what you like with that. If you've got a map that uses adventure mode, I'd stay clear from this. Anyway, let's go back into creative. Now, since we're approaching Halloween, we're going to change this carpet to a nice lime colour, and it kind of looks like some sort of ectoplasm, and once again it does the exact same thing, except it looks a bit more spoopy. Anyway, so there we have it, 10 Minecraft honey and honeycomb build hacks. I think it looks really cool. My favourite is definitely the garden one. Anyway, let me know what you think of these new blocks, and also if you have any other ideas for how these could be purposed into the game. Last time I did the first ever building hacks video on the beehives and bee nests ever, so I'm quite happy with that. So I wonder if we can keep up that theme. Anyway, next episode is going to be territories. I still want to get to episode 25. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.